All right, welcome everyone. Happy Thursday afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us here. Elise Radawitz with Velocity Leader, and I have a couple friends from Snelgrove that will be joining me momentarily. But first, wanted to just welcome you. If you want to drop a comment and let us know where you're listening from, I am coming to you from Wisconsin. It is actually a beautiful, not rainy day here for once, so that's great. We've had a lot of rain here. It's definitely spring. So yeah, just want to welcome you thank you for being here. Appreciate you listening in on a conversation that normally I would have behind the curtain, but my marketing and media partner, CJ Todd from Kreadiv, we like to level each other up. And so we are doing our first live stream of the conversation with a client and also giving you a little peek behind the screen. So yeah, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And we will make sure that this next hour is valuable for you. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guests for today and clients, friends, Doug from Snellgroves and Zack as well. Hi, guys. Good to
Hello.
see you again.
Hey, Miss Elise. Good to be here.
I always love, Doug, that you say Miss Elise. You're like, it warms my heart. I know it's a Southern thing, but I love it. It makes me feel special. So thank you. But yeah, so I am the president of Velocity Leader with the owner, Doug, from Snellgrove's HVAC, and Zach, one of their technicians. And so what we're doing today is we're just going to give a little bit of behind the scenes. But before we do that, I want to hear a little bit more about you, Doug. You are a great human. I appreciate you very much. And so give a little background on you and Snellgroves, if you don't mind.
My father-in-law, Bob, started the company in 1969. We are Southern. We're based about 45 miles outside of Charleston, South Carolina. Um, I married his middle daughter. We moved back from Kansas City here to the Low Country 2009. 2010, he said his cows were getting too expensive and he needed some spending cash. So I said, hey, great, because I need a job. Um, we started the company then just back up again because he had, for the most part, retired. And today, 15 years later, we've got 10 employees, and we are one of the, I guess, premier companies here in the, at least in our area outside of Charleston, South Carolina. So.
Mhm.
And then Zach came to me right out of high school. He's been with me for almost 4 years now. He has been a tech for 2 years, so he's out running calls on his own. So he's been a huge asset to our company.
Awesome. Yeah, love that. And just love that. Yeah, Zach's been he's been on board and we talked about this. So actually I'll give you a little backstory on Doug and I and how the disc workshop even came to be. But before I do that, I'm curious to know for those of you listening, I want to make sure I'm engaging you throughout this conversation as well. If you I've never heard of disc before, or maybe you have, just drop in the comments whether you've heard of it or not, because we are going to be talking disc today. And I just want to kind of make sure what level of education or knowledge you have on disc. And so a little bit just to kind of give you a backstory on how Doug arrived. So I do a leadership program, a virtual like multi-month program called Maximize Your Impact. Doug and his GM were part of that program. And part of that program, I introduced DISC because I believe in the tool, number one. But I also think that us understanding our communication style really helps us understand our leadership style because it really can affect just how we move about the world. I mean, aside from just communication alone. And so part of that was Doug was part of that program, and you and Wes both had the opportunity to go through that education. And when the program concluded, we had talked about, okay, well, hey, I mean, I'll let you say it in your own words, but we wanted to continue it and make sure that we had that education for the rest of the people on your team, right? What were you hoping to get out of that? If you can
Um,
take us back.
yeah, so I thought the class was very interesting and being we had never had a manager. I had always run everything myself. So I wanted to give Wesley I guess, as much information and knowledge on how to transition from a service tech, a senior service tech to management. So I thought the class was interesting, and I definitely, can always learn more too. So I definitely don't know everything. So the class was great. We learned a lot. And then that information, leading to the disc, it was like this information would be great information for the guys to learn also. Um, I have actually took the test several times in the last 25 years. So I was very familiar with DISC, and I knew how it helped me to grow as a person. So I just wanted to give the guys that same opportunity to hopefully that they could grasp the knowledge and how it can make them better men and better people and great employees too.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that we don't always think about in the trades. It's so one, I want to recognize the fact that you went into the training program not just by yourself. You had Wesley with you, which I thought was really great. It's one thing to say this is for them, but not for me, kind of like you already have it figured out, but your humility and vulnerability. And I would say you and Wesley both, you just have that very genuine humbleness and curiosity about you. So you guys were a perfect fit for the program. But I also think that just really, as we got talking, when I got to meet all the technicians virtually, when we did that workshop, the DISC workshop, we got to really understand how that impacted your entire culture and really shapes, because of the style that you and Wesley both have, just to have an idea of how that shapes the culture in a company too. When you have that curiosity, or even wanting to invest in your own education, but not only just yours, but the guys on your team as well. It shows that you care beyond, just the role that they play in the company. I want to make you, like to your point, a better man and a better person. So I really appreciated that spirit of that. CJ, I can see some chat coming through. Do we have people that aren't aware of DISC at all? I just want to make sure I don't want to talk a foreign language without, translating it first.
Yeah, Ashley's completed a DISC assessment, about 3 next star trainings. I feel it was insightful, but I have a hard time applying it with one style in particular. And I can launch a poll as well, so we can collect that data if you want.
Sure. Yeah, I'd just like to get an idea of what we have for knowledge around DISC, because not everybody's. Doug, had you known about DISC before we went through it in class?
Yes, I had.
Okay.
Yeah, I've taken the test maybe 4 times now over 25 years.
Okay.
So what's kind of interesting is I was a really high strong D when I first took it, and the last time I took it, I'm a strong C. So right. I have maybe mellowed out a little bit over the years, but
yeah. So interestingly, and so for those of you that don't, I'm going to give a very, very quick high level overview of DISC. When he says he's a high D, that means he's a dominant driver. So typically a D will talk fast, make decisions quickly, be very direct, very blunt. And we'll talk about the C's in just a moment, because he was still on the same side of the graph, if you will, a little more task oriented. The other side of the graph, when I move over to the I's, those are my style, high influence, very outgoing, fast-paced, outspoken, very much your people. Those are your I's. Your S's are going to be on that same side of the graph. So still your people, but a little more, I would say, toned down, slower in pace. They're still very curious and very much like so S is for steadiness. I think of them like the consummate like team player. They're just like the people that I'm married to an S. I would do it all over again. But he is very, just that person that will give above and beyond for themselves, make sure that everybody else in the team is good. And they don't want to rock the boat. They're very much harmony type people. And then our C's are conscientious or compliant type, which Doug, so interesting. You're on that same side of more focused on task, or that comes more naturally to you. And the pace probably just slows down, because what's interesting with the D is that high sense of urgency, high drive, it doesn't necessarily go away, but I think it shifts when you go to a C personality type, where you're a little bit more focused on the accuracy, the detail, the pace slows down, because that accuracy is really what's the priority, as opposed to high urgency, get this done, keep it moving. Would you see that that's a kind of a fair assessment, even for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Zack, I can't remember, what was your style?
I was an S.
All right, nice. Okay, so as I described my husband, do you think that was accurate to you? Or, I mean, again, everybody's a little bit different. Yeah.
Sure, definitely like a supportive role, team player. I'd definitely say I'm that type of person.
Yeah, and the S's are going to be more people oriented. Like S's and I's, we don't mind a conversation with somebody. C's and D's are going to be the guys that are mostly, or gals that are going to be, hi, Mrs. Jones, where's the furnace? I'm going to go down and take care of it. Like there's kind of like get to business, which is totally okay too. Okay, awesome. Yeah, and it looks like, let me just see the poll questions really quick. I think I closed out the screen too fast, but that's all right. All right. So yeah, we talked a little bit about your results. And Zach, were you surprised at all by your results? I know Doug has taken it. He kind of told us his shifted. Had you ever taken a disc assessment before?
No, ma'am, I haven't. I would definitely say I wasn't all that surprised, but I remember we definitely briefly went over the fact that, yes, over time, your style can very well change, and point evident, case in point. And I definitely feel even within that short time span of really just realizing exactly who I was, I've noticed that, okay, you do change over time, and very well, I feel as if I could probably be more or less an SC, in that somewhat range now.
Sure. Okay, awesome. Yeah, has it changed how you interact with homeowners at all, or with customers? Not to say specifically residential, that's where my head goes, but yours doesn't have to.
For sure, especially if you say it the best, people, with me being in a field where I definitely have to build a connection with the customers for them to feel as if they need to trust me, that is definitely something that's impacted hugely on me, just, trying to get to know somebody's style and knowing how to talk with them, because you can go to a customer's house and you could tell they're a straight D, and you're going to tell them
those
they need to hear. And there are some people where they're more or less I and S, and it's definitely, you need to come with them with warmth and tell them, hey, just more or less welcoming arms. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and just the awareness too of like before that you probably you never knew, right? But it sort of feels like you have a little bit of a cheat code to communicate with them, where you can go, oh, okay. It's funny you mentioned the D, because in my experience as well, the D's are going to be, when you meet one, you're like, oh, you're pretty direct, you're pretty short, communication wise. Yeah, so that's for sure. I agree with you on that. But it also, again, like I think back to the cheat code, it gives you the opportunity to go, okay, this person's a D. If I'm a longer winded talker, I'm going to shorten it up. I'm going to be more direct, and they're going to respond more quickly to that. In my experience, I see you nodding along, so you're all good. Yeah. All right. So I want to just kind of set the stage a little bit for what the disc workshop looked like. Now, what we did with you guys, and I had done a workshop previously virtually. Most of them are in person, to be totally transparent to the audience at home. But we did a virtual workshop for you guys, and I thought it was really cool how you did it, Doug. We broke it up into two different parts. So we did two 2-hour workshops, and we spread them out about a month or 2 weeks, I should say, apart from each other. One, because we're not always used to sitting here, myself included, for 2 hours on end. And so we did that. But what I liked about how you did it, so for the audience at home, to kind of give you this visual, we have our cameras very similar to the style we have right now, but it was at Doug's house. His wife had made breakfast, so all the guys were coming in, and I was kind of like, looking to see what was on their plates and that kind of stuff. But you really turned it into like a whole team experience offsite, right? I mean, tell us a little bit about how you leaned into that to really make it not feel like it was going to be some voluntold training they had to go to.
Yeah, I was a little, I guess, apprehensive about that at first, thinking that I'm going to have to be here, going to have to sit, we're going to have to do whatever this stupid meeting thing is, or, but I knew the benefit of it. And so I was hoping that they would see the benefit of it too. And I was very surprised at how well it went, how well they engaged, how, again, vulnerable, how the questions, they all jumped in, answered questions and participated. And it was just sitting in the living room and just everybody chatting and cutting up a little bit. And everybody was playing off of each other. And it's like, oh, well, yeah, I kind of do it that way too. And that's kind of how I see things. So it helped all of us to learn more about the others who had different styles. So I thought it was really, really beneficial. So,
Zach, what did you think coming into it? Be honest. I know you're an asset. I want to put you on the spot, but
definitely a little nervous because I didn't know what exactly to expect. But given I knew the background of it truly was just us trying to figure out who we were as people that we maybe didn't know before, definitely it's something you're going into like, okay, is my coworker gonna look at me a little different since I'm this style? But we definitely all connected and benefited so well from it.
Awesome. Yeah. What stuck out to me, and I said this to Wesley and Doug right afterwards, was I was really pleasantly surprised at how well the engagement went virtually. Just because I mean, it's a definitely different experience, especially with y'all being there and me being here. But it was, I remember how much the team leaned in, but I also go back to Doug and Wesley setting the stage of like, this isn't a pass fail type of an assessment. It's an idea for us to learn and grow. And really the room did come alive, and I was pleasantly surprised at how quickly people were sharing about themselves, not just in a work setting, but also at home, and saying, hey, I wonder if my spouse is this style, or that's always kind of fun to see people do that. And so did you see that around the room with just people like, I don't remember anyone kind of being surprised at their results or pushing back at all.
No, I don't think they were surprised, but I know I was surprised about a couple people. One in particular, Dusty, I would have swore he was a strong D and he was a strong I. So I completely had him pegged wrong. So Zack, I was, didn't know a lot about the SIs. So learning more about Zack and his style definitely helped too. So I was a little bit surprised how they engaged, and then the information that I learned too. So.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. And it is funny because I do remember Wesley saying something like, I thought you were, because you guys didn't look at the results ahead of time. I remember I sent them to you, but I think you kind of wanted to go with it eyes wide open, right? You didn't have the because I usually will send, just for those of you at home, you'll see I will send the owners or the leaders everyone's style, like, and the dot placed on the map, so that they can see it ahead of time for the whole team. But you guys didn't. You wanted to just sort of be there as the reveal happened, right?
I looked at the results just briefly.
Okay.
But I mean, you do such a great job of explaining the DI, S, and C's and relating them to us. And you have so many great stories and applications that just make it make so much sense. So that's what I really appreciated, and that helped so much because, okay, he's an I, he's an S. All right, well, she's going to tell us all about how it works, and you did. So
awesome. Yeah, well, thank you. So number one, thank you for that. I do pride myself on the stories and trying to make it as human as possible, because that's really how we learn as adults is through stories and just kind of connecting through other people's experiences. So thank you for that. The other part that I like to make sure that I'm always cognizant of too is not pigeonholing somebody based on their style. I've seen that before where like weaponizing it, almost being like, oh, well, and now granted, like you can say something like, you're such a D, you're being such a D right now, which, okay, I mean D style, like dominant driver style, but I also want to be aware that we need, and I'm sure I stress this with you guys, is we need all the styles to be represented on the team, because where you may have some conflict, or not even conflict so much as talking past each other, it's like, why do I feel like I communicate really easily with this person, and with someone else, it maybe just takes more effort, or it takes a little bit of me adjusting my style. And that's what I wanted to make sure of getting across in that room, was that there's not like one right style for a technician or a dispatcher or whatever. Are there certain styles that are maybe more going to be a little bit more of a natural fit? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that just because you're a X, Y, whatever style, that you're going to be not fit for that role. And so I thought that was one that I really wanted to get through there. All right. So question, I'm totally looking at my notes right now, and that's okay. So since your team has been through it, Doug, how have you seen this come through day to day with the team interacting with each other?
Kind of like with Zack here, instead of being maybe a little more direct and a little more short, giving him some more information, taking more time with him to explain things, I think has helped. Dusty, him being an I, thinking he was a D, and we didn't realize it, but he really struggled because he's our main PM tech.
Okay.
And he was really struggling working by himself. We
Sure.
put somebody with him and his productivity like tripled.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yes, it really was. So, you know, again, just learning how to speak a little bit more of Zach's language has helped us communicate better. Learning more about Dusty. They were really the two that were off C and D. Everybody else was pretty much the other direction, but just that itself has really helped me. It helped Wesley. Our communication definitely became better with those two than it had been. So
yeah, and and I know we talked about this during the full, leadership program of bringing that in and remembering when we're giving feedback or having a one-on-one to remember the person's disc style. How have you used that in and I think that's where I think day to day, but even week to week, how has that influenced the way that you show up in those conversations, either a one-on-one or giving feedback to one of your guys?
At first it was a little difficult because it was new. So really, I had myself notes sitting by the side of my desk so that I would just glance over them real quick. Okay, don't forget what Elise taught us. So I would look at that frequently to try to just more repetition to get it in my mind, so that when I went to the shop and said, "Okay, Dusty," or "Okay, Zach," oh, wait a second, what did Elise say? Okay, yeah, she said I need to be a little more sensitive, a little more words. So again, it took a little while, and it still takes time, but it really has, I think, overall helped the whole group. What do you think, Zach?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, and so because Doug, you're a C style, you're natural, you want to gravitate to the work part of like any conversation, right? And with Dusty and Zach in particular, they're your people, they're an I and an S. It's one of those reminders. So the thing he's referencing, that the kind of one pager, it's on my website, by the way. We could drop a link for you to get that. But that tells you it's basically like a one pager cheat sheet for you to be able to look at it in a quick glance and go, oh, that's right. I's. How was your weekend? How are you doing? Right? S is the funny thing that comes to mind when we're talking about S's. Is if you want to know how they're doing, ask them. Right? Like we don't ask the S's enough questions, in my opinion. And so if you want to know how they're doing, we got to make sure that we make time for it in those conversations. And for you as a C, it's going to be a little more intentional for you to work on that. Whereas an I or an S, when we're in those conversations or going into like a one-on-one conversation, it's going to be very natural for us to just go, hey, how's it going? How was your weekend? Hey, how did that thing go with your kids or your family or whatever? Those are things that more naturally come to us. Not that you can't, because you can, but it might be slightly more uncomfortable for you when you first started. That's fair, right?
Yeah, that's how it was.
Yeah. More naturally come to us. So for an owner who's watching right now, Doug, and thinking this sounds good, but I don't know if my team would be into it, what would you tell them?
Make them do it anyway.
Yeah. We did talk about messaging before we rolled this out. Because yes, a C or a D is like, well, just do it. We're doing it, right?
Yeah. Again, for me, I had really seen the benefit on how it impacted me as I gotten older. So I really wanted to implant some of that knowledge and wisdom to my employees too. And like I said, the class itself is very, very interesting. It teaches you a lot. The way that the stories you tell, the way that you apply the principles and everything, it's just, you make it so easy that I don't know, even if you're not even in the heat and air business or a service business, it's just good for anybody to learn to help you grow. So
yeah, Zach, have you used it? Have you noticed yourself using it or talking to customers differently?
For sure. I mean, it's like I said, you got to be almost like a people pleaser when it comes to talking with people, So definitely,
Sure.
It's like I said, it's very good if you have that knack to be able to identify somebody's style. And like I said, you and me both know when you come across a D, you'll know exactly how to talk with them.
Yeah.
But again, you're going to run into, even in life, I think that's the biggest thing, that beyond a workplace standpoint, there's so much you can benefit from in life in general. So
Yeah. Well said. Yes. And it's not, I would say it's kind of like being a chameleon where you're trying to adapt your style to someone else's. And I gave you guys I always go back to this. I'm a visual person. So I always go back to the idea of like the rubber band where I'm going to stretch over here to flex to communicate with this person, maybe a little bit differently. If I'm an I need to consciously slow down how I'm talking. If I'm talking really quick, that's fine. If I'm talking to a D, we're like, boom, 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 move on. An S or a C, I'm going to have to be aware that just my pace and tone of how quickly I'm talking can really like put people on their heels a little bit and be like, I'm uncomfortable just talking to you because I feel like you're bouncing along, and it can be unsettling for some people. The cool thing about working with Snelgroves specifically, I remember you guys, it was like, I remember asking, are there any styles or any people that you feel like you don't always communicate with, or you kind of feel like you're talking past each other? And I remember the guys kind of looking at each other and being like, oh, we're pretty good. And I was like, hey, we're not here because you're broken, like, for the record, right? I was like, this isn't because we're broken. This is more of just an awareness. If there are people that you're easier to communicate with, or you just feel like you get to know them more easily. The cool thing about that was having people, even when we had that map on the wall and everybody got to see where they were, it kind of helps you go, oh, that's why I probably get along with those people, right? More than some others. Not that there was any conflict really on the team, which I appreciated that. But yeah, that's one of those interesting things. Just kind of seeing, because you had more C's and D's as a style kind of from that group. So the pace of the group was probably going to be more task oriented. How have you, Doug, brought in, knowing that, have you done anything differently in terms of making sure that there's like activities on the people side of things? I know we talked about this, and I'm totally putting you on the spot asking you that, but I'm just thinking, was there anything like team building activities or things like that you put into practice the last couple months based on DISC?
No, there hasn't been anything that we've implemented like that. But I was, like you said, didn't seem like everybody looked around. Everybody says, oh, we're all doing good. We communicate well together, which we do. But this really stepped up that communication. There has been a definite difference since then. So we didn't think we were lacking anything. We thought we were great, but we sure implemented and took in that information that you taught us, and because it has definitely helped us.
Awesome. Great. I'm glad to hear it. All right. So yeah, I mean, what we're trying to get across today is really that when we invest in our team and training, it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It doesn't have to be overly expensive. I mean, you can do it out of the comfort of your own home if you want, and bring the team in. And so really, this is why I love doing this. And really, I want everyone to hear just how the shift has happened for your entire team. And just because part of it is we don't know what we don't know. We might think we're doing just fine, but there's always something we can learn, which is the whole approach that I appreciate for you, Doug, and Wesley too, is just that we can always get sharper. There's something we can learn. If there's any questions for anyone, I just want to make sure that we have some time too, for anybody that's maybe sitting there wondering about how they're going to implement this with their team. I'm going to give you the opportunity to drop that in chat, ask that question. If there's anything that you want to know how this would be done, again, we can do it in person or virtually. But yeah, any questions from the audience? I just want to make sure if there's anybody that's got a burning question, you can ask. I mean, straight from the horse's mouth in terms of the contractor, or for myself. So I'll give you a moment to.
Elise, this is CJ tuning in from behind the veil.
Thank you.
On Facebook, we have a question. What size company is DISC usually best for?
So the size of company doesn't necessarily matter. So with Doug's team in particular, we had 12 guys that we had everybody that total do it.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
And I think, it depends on, it really doesn't, I would say it doesn't matter, because it's a communication tool. And so if we need to break it up and do it into smaller groups, or maybe by team or department, we can do that. But it's a universal tool that the department size or company size really shouldn't affect that. And just for the record, that what we're doing, the $500 off that are running today is because I want to make it affordable. So if you have a team of 5, as an example, essentially what I'm doing is giving you all your assessments and materials for free. And that's what I'm kind of giving away. I want this to be approachable I've done it for leadership teams that were 3 people, and I've done it for entire groups that were like 40 people, and we just broke it up into smaller groups. Any other questions, CJ, from behind the curtain? My wizard behind the curtain.
Yeah, I just wanted to invite those folks on Facebook Live. If you do have questions, you can post them in the comments there on Facebook Live as well. But like, what's the first step with this training?
The first step, well, and I probably asked this of Doug when we first started, why do you want to do it? Right? And go ahead, Doug, and I think you already answered it a little bit. You're like, well, I enjoyed the experience and I wanted to give the education to the team. I always ask the why. Like, what are you looking to accomplish with any training is really the question. But DISC in particular, what were you looking to accomplish with it?
Yeah, just giving the guys more knowledge to be better people, better men was the main thing. And one thing I would say, you asked a question a little bit ago about if someone's interested, a manager, what can they do? I think if the more that you as an owner or manager can come to the meeting open, honest, vulnerable, sharing what you really think and feel, that you'll get more out, your guys will participate more and you can get more out of it. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. And that's the whole spirit, and that your willingness and openness about it is going to make everyone else, I say their shoulders kind of drop a little bit and be a little more comfortable knowing that, oh, we're not going in here because we're going to find out something that's bad or anything like that. So yeah, that approach is a great one to take. And I encourage all of my clients to use that messaging and that approach with their team when they're bringing it up, because it can feel a little bit like, wait, you want me to take this test and then we're going to talk about it in front of everybody? It kind of feels definitely can be a vulnerable or a humbling experience. And we don't want it to be that, but you do want to show up with that spirit of curiosity and humility. Absolutely.
Now,
CJ, go ahead. Yeah.
One more time. Just wanted to say thanks to the few people that have signed up for the $500 off DISC training. I forgot to mention that if you scan the QR code on screen, or I dropped the link in the chat as well, you can request that $500 off. Yeah, I think it would be kind of interesting to launch a poll and see kind of what everybody's biggest challenges with communication are right now. And then maybe we can speak on that a bit.
Sure. I'm going to see about plugging my computer in because I don't know why it's not charging. And I don't want to lose you, friends.
Looks like biggest concern is messages getting lost between the office and the field. Maybe you guys could speak on that, like maybe how post DISC training, Doug, things have improved.
I don't know that we really had much of a problem with that, but yeah, Zack, because Zack being in the field talking with the dispatcher, and has that helped? Or
I definitely could say it's improved for sure. Just me trying to more or less knowing, because I know I could tell how her style is, and being able to speak with her and knowing exactly how to speak with her. She's under a lot of stress sometimes, given there's times of the year where we are slammed and there are times of the year where she's cool as can be. So there's definitely, you just learn how to take it head on next time around, given the patience that you've learned with your personality style.
Right. And that's somebody where the dispatcher, they put a lot on themselves every day on their backs. And there are that conduit really between the office and the field. But knowing their DISC style is for sure. If they're a D, you can ask them blunt, straight, very direct questions like, hey, what are we doing about this? Where are we going with that? You do that to an I or an S, that's going to rub them the wrong way. And so knowing that, it's part of it is your field life pretty much is, I would say, is pretty dependent on you having a good relationship with that dispatcher. Would you agree, Zach? I mean, if you want to make sure to make friends with somebody in the office, I'm gonna say that's one of the roles that you're gonna want to make sure that you say thank you to. I appreciate, just those, right? I mean, you.
Oh yeah, you hit the head right on the nail. You got that one done. Good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can, you want to make sure you have a good relationship with everybody, but I think those that are dispatching you to certain jobs, you really want to make sure you understand their personality type and adjust your communication to get, again, I don't use this as like, again, to weaponize it, but it's really to understand where they're coming from so that you can make sure that you're going to get the most productive conversation or most effective relationship out of it. It's going to determine really the quality of your relationships. So that's, yeah. Anything else we need to add on that question or anything coming through from Facebook Live in terms of challenges?
Yeah, the other thing was just the same problems coming up over and over, like none of the problems getting actually solved.
So I see this with clients, or I should say I see this with customers at times where we read all the books and maybe we do a lot of the things, but we're not actually, we go, yeah, we took disc a while ago, and I'll be like, okay, sounds good. What did you do with it? Well, we took it, we talked about it. And this was, well, how many years ago did you do it? Well, 2 or 3. And I kind of go, well, like, how are you keeping it alive? How are we making sure that we are introducing this concept, because we'll forget about it. It's kind of like the set it and forget it idea. And so I can think of one of my friends, she runs an HVAC company out of Virginia. They actually have like a wheel with all the with the disc styles on it. And then they also have a wheel of objections, and they will just spin those and do those in tech training. And they'll make sure that they're keeping it fresh and keeping it a part of what they're doing on the, I guess, monthly. And so that's just another, I'm going to throw that out there for everybody if they want to use that. But I thought that was a great way to just keep it alive. Doug, has there been anything that you can think of, maybe not to that extent, but something that you've done to kind of keep the training alive for the guys? Do you have the disc map posted somewhere, or I don't know what's
We do have our disc map
okay.
posted in the warehouse, so everybody does see it. I would like to say I have implemented other things, but that's probably been about it, unfortunately.
It's okay. You're 6 months in. It's not been sitting on the shelf for too long that you can't pull it off and dust it off.
That's right.
Yeah, give yourself some grace on that one. You're all right. The fact that it's there, Zach, do you ever other comments? Do you ever I mean, you see it in the warehouse. Is there anything, I mean, I guess from your perspective, how do you think you could keep it alive for the team? Any ideas?
Really, just again, every day having to deal with people, it being the whole jig. It's definitely something you've got to keep fresh, because the days that you kind of forget and think, okay, I'm talking with this person, they're getting aggravated with me because I'm not being direct with them, or just kind of beating around the bush. And as a D style, they don't want that. They want straight results. They want this, that, and the other. So it definitely, when you shy away from it, you can tell. At least from my standpoint, I can tell whenever I shy away from my training on everything. So it's definitely something I try to do. It's kind of easy to forget, when you're caught up in everything. But
Sure.
You've got to realize, hey, if you know how to speak to somebody, you'll be just fine where you're at.
Yeah, it's kind of half the battle too, where I mean, otherwise the message could be lost, or could be, there's more opportunity, I think, for conflict or miscommunication for those of us that are, I think of all the times I've gotten in disagreements or arguments with my husband. Usually it's a miscommunication. It's not a conscious thing. It's, I said this, but you heard that, or maybe I was pushing you. Again, my husband's an S, like I know better than to push him for an answer on something, because that version of me, while that works effectively at the office when I'm working with my D style folks, if that version of me comes home, it's not as welcomed. And if I push my S for an answer, he's going to push back and be like, I'm out. I'm like, oh, dang it. Okay, well, that's not what I wanted. Right. So yeah, it's just some things to keep in mind with, again, personal or professional. We care, we can't, we take ourselves in both situations. So just keeping those skills in mind at both. CJ, was there any other questions? I just want to make sure we're addressing anything from the audience side.
Yeah, that's it for now.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, that's pretty much it for the conversation. Doug, unless you wanted to, I saw you unmute. If you wanted to say anything more about kind of if it's go ahead. I'll let you have the stage for a moment.
Yeah, one of the things, but one of the last questions that was asked, something else that you could do as owners and managers is sign up for Lisa's little newsletters that she sends out. Those are very helpful. How do you work on discouraged employees? How do you implement PIP, things like that you've done the last couple months? Those are great. I really appreciate those. So those are a huge help.
Awesome. Okay, final question for you, Doug. Would you recommend this training to other home service owners in the business?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome.
If you want yourself to grow, you want your business to grow, you want your employees to grow, it's a huge benefit. So
Well, thank you.
Glad we did it.
Great. That's why I love doing it. If you can't tell, just because one of my favorite things to teach, it's just, again, it's the human side of the business. And so that's why we're running that offer, because I really want to take advantage of, we're sliding in some areas of the nation. We're sliding into busy season, but we're not there yet. And so I really want to give this experience or education to other contractors so that maybe when, it gets hot out and we get short tempered and all of that, we can have a different way that we move about it. We can have a different way that we communicate with each other. And so that really the $500 off, it doesn't mean you have to. I would obviously love for you to do it in the next probably 6 weeks before summer hits. But if you schedule a time with me in the next few weeks, we can always make that happen in fall. I just want you to commit to getting on my calendar. We'll drop my calendar link. Give me 60 minutes of your time. Let's talk through what your goals are, what you're seeing. I can give you some, obviously, a real world, examples like the Dougs of the world, and we can work on just moving through busy season differently than maybe we have in the past. And so really that's the invitation and encouragement for you is if you're thinking about it, now is the time, and get on my calendar and let's have a conversation. But Doug and Zach, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you giving me the time today. And yeah, thank you for the plug in the newsletter. If you want any, I'm trying to give away as much education and value as I can for you. So yes, if you want to sign up for my newsletters, feel free to go to velocity-leader.com. And with that, I hope you all have a great Thursday. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Miss Elise.
Appreciate you having us.
Thanks,
My
all.
pleasure, guys.
I'll smile.